Debt ceiling negotiators hitting the pause on their talks, raising new concerns about whether a deal will be reached this week. And a White House official telling Yahoo Finance there are, quote, real differences between the parties on budget issues and talks are going to be difficult. Joining us now is Democratic strategist James Carville, who is host of Politics War Room with James Carville and Al Hunt. James, it's good to see you here. So when President Biden left for G7, he was optimistic, confident that a deal would be reached this weekend. It sounds like now things might be further apart. The talks might be further apart than we had initially thought. Where do we go from here?
Well, they're going to obviously get back and start talking again. And I don't like the term debt limit. It's about a default. That's what we're talking about. Let's don't sugarcoat this. If they don't do this, the United States is going to default on its debt. That's just a fact. And we got to quit. We got to start talking directly here. And it's not surprising. The Republicans don't know what they want. They haven't even submitted a budget yet. And they've been in power since January the 3rd. President Biden submitted his budget. So it's going to be some tough sledding here. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I'm hopeful that they'll get back to the table and avoid this catastrophic outcome. But who knows with these people?
It was just a few days ago that we heard from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying that he did not expect the U.S. to default on its debt. What changed since then? And how much of this is about pressure coming from the more conservative wing of the party and the House Freedom Caucus?
Well, understand there's also pressure on the White House negotiating from some Democrats to say that all you want, all of the things that they're proposing are things that are important to a lot of Democrats. So there's pressure everywhere. I mean, this is a high pressure thing, and the Freedom Caucus is having a lot of pressure, but a lot of Democrats are telling the White House, don't cave, don't do this. And it's a difficult negotiation. There's no doubt about that. And but it's highly critical. It's important. The financial markets, it seems to me, are going to react horribly if they don't come up with a solution to this. But I'm hardly a financial market guy. But in the political market, we need to communicate much more effectively and talk about default, talk about there's no budget, talk about the fact that in all the entire United States budget debt we owe, $31 trillion, 25% of that was accumulated in the 4 years of the administration of Donald J. Trump. And we do not tell people that. Our communications effort to this point has been negligible. And that's why we're in this shape we're in right now.
James, who do you think has the upper hand in this situation right now, given the timeline, looking out to 2024, President Biden running again? Because both sides of the aisle, members of both sides of the aisle have said that conditions need to be made in order to get a deal.
Well, honestly, the Democrats are winning every election that you see. We're winning in Pennsylvania, we're winning in Florida, we're winning in Wisconsin. So the Republicans, I'm sure, understand this, and they need to change their trajectory at their own. And I think they see this as some kind of a potential advantage for them. And if we have this what people that I know and trust and think their judgment is good, if we have this catastrophic outcome, they're hoping that Biden suffers from it. But right now, they're having a terrible time electorally, and believe you me, they know it. So I think they view that if there is some horrible economic outcome, it will hurt Biden more than them, but it'll hurt the country more than hurt anyone. But that's just where we are with the modern Republican Party, and who knows that they might do anything. I'm not totally confident that they'll come around and do what's in the interest of the United States. I hope I'm wrong.
So what's the political calculation on the Democratic side then?
Well, there's two political calculations. One is, let's just keep this economic recovery going. I mean, this is the lowest unemployment we've had in 50 years. You got more people working, incomes are going up. You got more great percentage of people that have health insurance now than ever before. And if we just keep this recovery going, we'll be in good shape. The Republicans see that, and they say it's to our advantage to mess up this economy, to throw a wrench into it. And then people are inevitably blame President Biden. The side that has the best, most effective, most disciplined, most enforced communications is the side that's going to do better here. But it's not clear. I'll be honest with you. They think they can damage the United States and damage in the process of damaging the United States, they could damage Joe Biden. And they might be right. I'm not here to tell you that they're totally wrong.
James, you just highlighted a number of positives for the economy, particularly within the labor market. And yet when you look at the president's approval rating, they don't look good. What do you think's the issue here? Is it about messaging from the White House?
We had a pretty good economy in '94 and we got beat bad. The President Obama had brought, GM was back and they had a terrible 2010. I mean, I can't describe what people's lives are like or why they have certain opinions, but by every objective opinion, every objective measure, I should say, this economy and this job market is strong as garlic in a milkshake. I mean, I don't know how it could be any stronger than it is. And, when that takes over, people realize that. I don't know. It's a great unanswered question. And even in cost, I don't like the word inflation. I like the term cost of living. Even the cost of living is starting to level off a little bit. But when that takes hold in public opinion, I can't tell you. I don't know. It's very scary. But right now, what I'm scared to death about is we got to get through this this default fiasco. The United States becomes a deadbeat nation. And remember what happened in 2011? We lost something off our credit rating, and it cost us, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars. It's an expensive game that they're playing.
So, James, what should the message then be from the Biden administration as we look forward to 2024? Because you mentioned the fact that the economy is quite strong. It's been quite strong for some time. It has not been resonating with voters now over the last couple of years, unlikely maybe to at this point going forward. So what should then the focus be if the economy is not it?
Well, first of all, right now, between now and June the 1st, so whenever we run out, it's to default or not to default. And if you want to have constructive talks, do your constitutional duty and submit your budget. I mean, that's got to be the message between now and the end of the month. The larger message is that, we're working hard and, if we keep this economy going, people will feel the effects of it. But right now they're voting Democratic out there. I mean, maybe they don't like the economy to give the president low ratings, but we win in every election that we're in. And that's everybody looks at GDP numbers. Everybody looks at the polling numbers. Everybody looks at the press coverage. I look at the election returns because I think that people voting is the most consequential thing that happens in politics. And I got to tell you, what I'm seeing so far is pretty doggone good. And I think that Kevin McCarthy and them are looking at the same numbers and said, we got to mess this thing up. We're going in the wrong direction. But I can't give people why they feel bad about one thing or another. I guess one of the reasons they feel bad because the financial press keeps telling them that we're getting ready to go into a recession. If I listen to financial press, I think we're all doomed. And of course, we're not any remotely in a recession right now. Maybe all of y'all will be right, and we collapse next month. But right now, we haven't. We win in elections.
James, you're the big strategy guy when it comes to campaigns, and I'm curious to get your take on what's playing out on the GOP side. When you look at 2024, there's obviously Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. We heard from South Carolina Senator Tim Scott today, putting his hat in the ring for a presidential run. And then you've got Donald Trump still out there. If you put your strategy hat on, who do you think poses the biggest threat to President Biden right now?
I don't know, but they are literally destroying each other. In DeSantis, one thing in politics, you have enemies that you have to have. The enemy's a necessity. So your candidate wants the office, somebody else holds it. That's your natural enemy. You have an office, your opponent wants it. That's your natural enemy. DeSantis is making terrible enemies of choice. It's a terrible enemy of choice to go after Disney, a huge, sophisticated corporation that is the largest private employer in the state of Florida. They have gone after, there was this wonderful story in Politico, they've gone after his chief strategist, a woman by the name of Susie Wiles, at the behest of Mrs. DeSantis, and they're cutting him up one side down the other. So I would say this going forward. DeSantis doesn't have very good judgment in picking his enemies of choice. Trump is his enemy of necessity, but he's not doing that well right now, and they're gonna keep jumping on him like mad. And from just a political guy watching this unfold, you're like, come on here, guy, you ain't playing this game very well. I mean, sure, they can get better, but they're not very good right now.
I imagine you might make a call there. We'll see. James Carville.
I'm having too much fun watching. I'm terrified by the death of it, but I'm having fun watching these Republicans. I mean, this is really a lot of fun. It's like watching LSU win a big football game.
I imagine you've got your LSU shirt on there. James Carville, as always, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I always love being on this network. Thank you.